What happens when the man who killed a queen can only rely on the girl raised to kill kings? What if I told you Jon Snow didn't say a word to anyone, not even Tyrion, after Daenerys' death? What if, sword dripping with blood and eyes hollow, with guilt, he walked away from her body and vanished into the wreckage of the Red Keep? And the only person he sent for was Arya, because after what happened, how could he trust anyone else? Jon hadn't spoken in 2 days. Grey Worm wanted his head. Tyrion was rotting in a cell. The Unsullied patrolled the streets like the city belonged to them, and maybe it did now. The fire had stopped, but the smoke hadn't cleared. Not from the sky, not from his lungs, and definitely not from his soul. He'd done it. He'd killed her. But the look in her eyes when he did, it haunted him. Arya found him before the others did, before the rumors spread. Before the council could decide whether he was hero or traitor, she found him in the crypts below the Red Keep, standing before the bones of Rhaegar and Elia, of generations of dead Targaryens. His sword was still blood-stained. Ghost was at his feet, quiet. And Jon? Jon didn't look like a king. He looked like a man who'd been buried alive in the ruins of his own choices. She didn't speak. Not at first. Arya had always known silence better than anyone. Silence was the mask you wore when the world wanted your face. Silence was safer than truth. But not now. "You did it," she finally said. "Not a question, just truth." He didn't answer, didn't move, just stared at the dead. Arya walked up beside him, slow and sure. "I saw the smoke, heard the screams. I followed the trail, thought I'd find a dragon. I found this." Jon didn't look at her. She wouldn't stop. "I begged her, told her it was over. She said it was peace, said they didn't understand yet." Arya's voice was cold but not cruel. "So you made her understand?" Jon turned finally. His face wasn't angry. It wasn't even broken. It was numb, hollowed out. "She wasn't mad," he whispered. "She was certain." Arya nodded slowly. "That's worse." Then silence again. But not awkward, not fearful. This silence was trust. Because Jon knew, if anyone in the world wouldn't try to sway him or use him or twist this moment into politics, it was Arya Stark, his sister. No, his only sister now. The one who survived everything and didn't flinch. Tyrion had spoken of duty. Varys had whispered of destiny. Even Sam had mentioned bloodlines and rightful heirs. Only Arya never cared who sat the throne. Only Arya never asked him to be king, and that's why he sent for her. "I'm not staying," he said. She didn't blink. "I figured. They'll want to hang me, or crown me, maybe both. They'll try. I won't let them." "Good." He finally met her eyes. "Come with me." That gave her pause. She was already halfway gone anyway, had told Sansa she was heading west of Westeros, wherever that was. But looking at Jon now, she saw something more than sorrow. She saw clarity. A kind of freedom only death or murder could give, I thought. "You were taking the black," she said. "I took the black for a realm that doesn't exist anymore. You'd break your vows?" "I already have." Arya didn't answer right away. Her eyes scanned him, searching for something. Then softly, "What about Bran?" Jon shook his head. "He'll understand, or he won't. Either way, he sees more than I ever could. Grey Worm won't let you walk out. I'm not asking him." Arya gave the faintest smirk. "Then you'll need a blade." She tossed him a dagger, not hers, his. Longclaw hung heavy at his side, still stained. But that was a sword of war. The dagger, small, quick, silent, was for survival. They moved at night, through tunnels known only to rats and ghosts. Arya had learned the Red Keep like it was her own body. And Jon, ever the wolf, followed her without question. Outside, the city still smelled like fire and blood. The Unsullied marched, the Dothraki shouted and drank. The people of King's Landing, those who hadn't burned, hid behind shattered walls and empty eyes. But Arya knew when to move. And Jon, for once, let someone else lead. They stole a boat from the eastern docks. Not a ship, just a small, one-masted vessel meant for fishing. Jon didn't ask where they were going. He just said, "Wherever you go, I'll go." And that was enough. Okay, pause. Did anyone else just feel that shift? Because this isn't the Jon Snow who's bound by honor anymore. This is a Jon who's done with the game, done with kingdoms, done with loyalty to people who burned innocents in the name of good. And Arya? She's not just a sidekick here, she's his anchor, his assassin guardian, his only remaining family that doesn't want a throne or a crown. But trust me, this is just the beginning. Because what happens next is where it gets wild. You think they're running away, oh you sweet summer child. The wind struck hard as the small boat cut across the choppy waters of Blackwater Bay. Jon sat at the helm, hands gripping the worn wood, eyes locked on the grey horizon. Arya kept low, her eyes always moving, scanning the coastline, the sky, the sea. Neither of them spoke for hours. They didn't need to. Every crashing wave was a question left unanswered. Every gust of wind felt like ghosts from behind, trying to catch them. When night finally fell, and the moon lit their quiet exile, Jon broke the silence. Where are we going? Arya didn't turn. North, then west. North? His brow furrowed. To Winterfell? She shook her head. Not quite. There's someone we need to see first. Jon looked at her, puzzled. Who? Arya's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of emotion crossing her otherwise calm face. Someone who knows how to disappear. Because if you want to live, truly live, not as a prisoner, not as a king, you'll need to become someone the world doesn't recognize. Jon was quiet again. It made sense. He'd been lord, then king, then nothing. He didn't want another name, didn't want another war. But he knew what Arya meant. She didn't mean changing clothes or cutting his hair. She meant vanishing, becoming a myth, becoming the kind of person no one dares search for because they're already assumed dead. Or, worse. I thought you wanted to go west, he said finally. I still do, she replied. But helping you vanish is more important right now. Why, he asked, not accusingly, just confused. Why help me? Arya's voice was quiet. Because you're the only one who never lied to me. And just like that, the silence between them became a kind of bond no bloodline could match. Back in King's Landing, chaos bloomed. Grey Worm demanded Jon's execution. The Unsullied had seen enough of Westeros to hate it with every scarred breath they took. Tyrion, released only temporarily to speak before the Great Council, pleaded for mercy, not just for Jon, but for peace. Sansa stood like stone. Bran remained unreadable. But Sam was the first to ask, where is he? Because Jon Snow had vanished. No trial, no guards, no body, only blood on the floor of the destroyed throne room, and Daenerys, burned, buried, mourned by those who believed her dream. Bran said nothing of Jon's location. Neither did Arya, of course. The story was simple. Jon Snow was gone, and with no body to hang, no grave to honor, Westeros did what it always did after a tragedy. It buried the truth beneath ceremony. Bran was crowned. Sansa ruled the north. Tyrion remained hand. Grey Worm sailed for Nath. Peace, they called it. But peace is a lie told by survivors who don't want to dig up ghosts. And Jon Snow had become a ghost. 3 days later, Arya and Jon reached a quiet cove along the western edge of Bear Island. It was abandoned, or so it seemed, until an arrow embedded in the sand 2 feet from Jon's boots. Then another. Arya didn't flinch. She just held up a single hand and whistled once, sharp and short. From the rocks above, a figure stepped forward. Hooded, bow in hand, another followed. Then a third. Friends? Jon asked quietly, his hand moving toward Longclaw. Arya gave a faint smile. Killers, and better friends than most. The leader jumped down. A woman, short, scarred, one eye. She didn't bow. She didn't speak. She looked Jon up and down like she was assessing whether he was worth killing or hiding. Finally, she said, "So this is your shadow." Arya nodded. "He's got a big one, needs burying." The woman nodded once. "Come." And just like that, Jon Snow was taken underground. "Okay, stop right there. Are you telling me Arya Stark has her own underground network of rogue assassins hidden along the forgotten coasts of Westeros?" Yes, I am, because the world only ever saw Arya as a Stark. A killer, sure, but a Stark. What they didn't realize is that after Braavos, Arya built something else. Not a house, not a family, but a network. A way out for people who didn't want to be found, and now she was using it to hide the one man the world had the most reason to fear and the least reason to love. But trust me, it won't be enough, because even ghosts cast shadows, and Jon's shadow is about to wake dragons, both literal and political. The stone walls of the underground shelter were damp, the air thick with salt and secrets. Jon sat near a small fire, staring into the flickering flames like they might burn away the memory of Daenerys' final breath. Across from him, Arya leaned against the wall, arms crossed, silent as ever. He hadn't asked who these people were. He didn't need to. Their presence, their movements, silent, efficient, dangerous, told him everything. These were not rebels or thieves. They were ghosts like him, people who had lost everything, shed their names, and chosen to live in the shadows. Arya trusted them. That was enough. The one-eyed woman who led them was named Kyle. She didn't ask questions, didn't care about the Iron Throne or the legacy of the Targaryens. She only asked one thing. Do you want to disappear completely or leave the door cracked open? Jon didn't answer at first, but later that night, after Arya had fallen asleep with her blade still in hand, he approached Kyle quietly. I need to disappear, he said, but not forever. Kyle looked up from sharpening her dagger. That's the dangerous answer. I know. She didn't press, just nodded once. Then you'll need a new face, a new name, and eventually a new purpose. Because ghosts don't wander forever. They either fade or haunt. In Winterfell, ravens arrived at dawn. Sansa read the sealed message alone in her chambers. No one else was allowed in. The seal was Arya's. The message was brief. He's alive. He's safe. Tell no one. Trust no one. Sansa sat for a long time after reading it, fingers clenched around the parchment. Bran knew. Of course he did. Whether by vision or logic, he had not asked once about Jon since the day the crown touched his own head. It was like he already knew Jon would never sit on any throne, not again. But Sansa? Sansa still carried the weight of her brother's life on her shoulders. Jon had murdered Daenerys. Half the realm still believed he should die for it. Others whispered he should be king. Either truth could burn the fragile peace to ashes, so she said nothing to anyone, and the North remained quiet. For now. Back in the cove, Arya and Jon trained every morning before sunrise. No swords, only hand-to-hand combat. Silent, brutal, exhausting. You fight like a man who wants to lose, Arya growled after pinning him for the third time that morning. Jon shoved her off, panting. I'm tired. You're weak, she said coldly. Weak men die. He didn't respond, just stood and reset his stance. Again. Again. By the fifth round, blood trickled from his lip, but his eyes were different now, sharper, angrier. That's better, Arya muttered, circling him. The world thinks you're dead, let them. But if you plan on ever walking in it again, you'll need to be someone it doesn't recognize. I don't want to be anyone else. You don't have a choice. That night, Arya handed him a piece of cloth, a simple mask. He stared at it like it was made of poison. It's not for disguise, she said. It's for rebirth. Jon said nothing, but he didn't throw it away. Meanwhile, word of Jon's disappearance began to spread in whispers, like wildfire beneath ash. In Essos, stories reached the exiled Dothraki. The Dragon Queen was dead. The dragon itself, Drogon, had vanished, and the man who killed her had not been seen since. Some believed Drogon had burned Jon to ash. Others believed he flew him across the sea. But the most dangerous rumor of all, that Jon Snow still lived and was gathering forces in the shadows. This rumor reached ears it shouldn't have. A red priestess in Volantis, a sellsword captain in Braavos, and most dangerously, Sir Davos Seaworth. He'd gone south to aid reconstruction, to advise where he could. But when he heard the whispers, he went pale. Because if Jon was alive, the realm wasn't safe. Not because Jon wanted power, but because power would chase him wherever he went. Okay, wait. Are you hearing this? Jon Snow's just trying to vanish, trying to fade into legend. But Westeros doesn't let its heroes die quietly. The idea of Jon is alive, and it's starting to spread faster than wildfire in Flea Bottom. And Arya, she's turning her brother into a weapon, not for war but for survival. And the world is about to chase a ghost. You think it's quiet now, but trust me, the storm is coming because someone else just found out Jon Snow is alive, and she's got Targaryen blood in her veins. In the red marble halls of Volantis, a fire crackled inside the Temple of R'hllor, throwing shadows onto a face young yet ancient in its intensity. Kinvara, High Priestess of the Lord of Light, stood unmoving, her eyes fixed on the flame as if it whispered to her, and this time it did. "The wolf lives," she murmured. The younger priests exchanged glances. They had heard this before, visions in the flames, cryptic utterances of shadow and light. But this time her voice shook. "He walks among ghosts, hidden, but not lost." She turned sharply, her eyes blazing now. Jon Snow was not the prince, who was promised, but he was a key, and keys cannot be discarded, not while the doors of death still tremble. Far from the heat of prophecy, Jon Snow sat in the shadows of a coastal cliff, watching the tide roll in under moonlight. His hands were calloused again. He'd started working with Kyle's people, fishing, repairing boats, scouting routes along the coast. He didn't speak much, but he listened, watched, learned. Arya watched him too. He was becoming leaner, faster, sharper, but not harder. "Still dreaming about her?" she asked one night, seated beside him. Jon didn't answer right away, just nodded. "I don't blame her," he whispered. "She saw a better world. Just not the people in it." Arya said nothing for a while. Then, "You didn't kill her because she was evil. You killed her because you had to choose. Between love and duty. No," she said. "Between peace and destruction. Between what she wanted and what you knew was wrong." Jon rubbed a hand over his face. "I don't want to be remembered for that." "Good." "You won't be," Arya said, "because no one will remember you at all, unless you decide otherwise." She stood. "And the world? It already misses you. That's dangerous. In Braavos, a faceless man walked through the Hall of Faces, trailing a hand along the wall. He stopped before one, young, pale, clean-shaven, a face no one had claimed, because the body had never returned. "Jon Snow," the faceless man said, almost a whisper. The kindly man appeared behind him. "Why do you speak his name?" "Because he lives, and names are power." The kindly man nodded. "But death has claimed him." "Tus," said the faceless man. "The world believes it has, but he walks still." "A ghost, then?" "A shadow." The kindly man's expression didn't change. "And what does a shadow cast?" "Fear." Back in Westeros, Davos Seaworth met Sansa Stark in secret under the weirwood tree in Winterfell. "I need the truth," he said. "Is he alive?" Sansa's expression was unreadable. "Does it matter?" "It does," Davos replied, "because the South is beginning to whisper." "And if word spreads—" "Let it," Sansa interrupted. "Let them wonder if Jon Snow walks again. It keeps their blades sharp and their eyes wide. Fear is protection." Davos frowned. "You're gambling with a ghost." "I'm protecting what's left of him," she said. "And I trust Arya more than any knight in the realm." Meanwhile, Kyle's Cove was no longer secret. A rider had been spotted. A raven intercepted. Arya knew before the others did. She found Jon alone, skinning fish. "They're coming," she said. "Who?" "Someone important. Probably more than—" "One," Jon sighed. "I'm tired of running." Arya tilted her head. "Then stop running." He looked up. "I'm not saying reveal yourself," she clarified. "But stop pretending you're nothing. You're not a king, but you're not a ghost either." "I'm just Jon." "No," she said. "You're the man who killed a queen to save a kingdom. You're the man the world fears is alive. That's power. If you're going to vanish, at least know what you're walking away from." Jon stood slowly. "And if I don't want to walk away anymore?" Arya's eyes narrowed. "Then we have a problem." "Okay, wait, did you catch that? This entire time Jon Snow's been trying to disappear, trying to escape the weight of prophecy, legacy, guilt. But the world isn't letting him go. Red priests are seeing visions. The faceless men are watching. Even the High Lords are beginning to fear his name again. And Arya, she's torn between protecting him and controlling the chaos he leaves behind. But here's where it gets insane, because the person coming for Jon now isn't Sansa, isn't Tyrion, isn't even Bran. It's a Targaryen, and she believes the Iron Throne is hers by blood and vengeance. The waves off the coast of Old Town were calm that morning, but the harbor was not. A sleek, dark ship, no banners, no sigils, pulled into dock like a shadow that had taken form. Its hull bore no name, but its crew walked like soldiers, eyes forward, hands near steel. At the head of the ship stood a woman with silver-gold hair braided tightly to her back. Her eyes were not wild like Daenerys's had been, but cold, calculating, and painfully aware. She was not fire. She was ice that remembered it had once burned. Her name was Rhaenys Waters, a name given by bastards, a name forced into shadow. But her blood, that was Targaryen. She was the hidden daughter of Rhaegar, born in silence, raised in exile, forgotten, by war and fire, until now. She'd heard the whispers, that her cousin Daenerys was dead, that the man who murdered her lived. She intended to find him and finish what her bloodline started. In the cove, Arya knew something had shifted. The night. Air was too quiet, the sentries too alert, the birds too distant. Jon sensed it too. He stood at the edge of the rocks watching the moonlight glisten off the water like dragon scales. "Something's coming," he said. Arya didn't deny it. "We have to move." But Jon didn't move. Not yet. His voice was steady. "I'm tired of hiding." "You think I'm not," Arya snapped. "You think I don't want to run, but this, whatever's coming, it's not some sellsword or scout. It's power. It smells like legacy." Jon turned to her. "Then let them come." Arya stared at him. "Are you ready to die for this?" Jon's answer was immediate. "I already did." That night, the cove burned, not from fire, but from fury. Rhaenys' soldiers moved like ghosts. No horns, no banners, no war cries. Just steel in the dark. Kyle was the first to fall, an arrow through the throat before she could draw her blade. The others scrambled, some fighting, some fleeing, but they were not warriors, they were shadows, and shadows cannot fight the dawn. Arya fought three at once, spinning through the trees with needle flashing like lightning. Jon fought with his fists, his blade left behind in the sand. He was done shedding blood for kings, but when one of the invaders came for Arya from behind, instinct took over. His hand found a fallen sword, and the ghost became a wolf. He cut the man down with a single strike, then another, then another. Blood soaked his shirt, his hands, his face. And that's when he saw her, Rhaenys, standing at the edge of the tree line, watching him, not attacking, just watching. She stepped forward, cloak trailing behind her like wings. "I thought you'd be taller," she said. Jon lowered the sword. "And I thought Targaryens were extinct," she smiled. "They are, and I'm what's left." Arya moved beside him, blade still ready. Rhaenys looked between them. "So this is the Stark girl, the assassin." "You're not welcome here," Arya said. "I'm not here for welcome," Rhaenys replied. Her eyes returned to Jon. "I'm here for justice." Jon didn't flinch. "You want revenge?" "No," she said. "Revenge is a luxury. I want truth. I want to know why the man my cousin trusted put a knife through her heart." Jon's jaw tightened. "Because she was going to burn the world." Rhaenys tilted her head. "And now look at you, hidden, hunted, alone. Did saving the world feel like this?" He didn't answer. Rhaenys stepped closer. "I should kill you, and maybe I still will. But first I need something from you." Arya raised her blade. "You'll get nothing." But Jon raised his hand, stopping her. "What do you want?" he asked. Rhaenys smiled slowly. "The throne." Almost laughed. "There is no throne. There's still a realm," she said. "Still a people, still a story to be told. And stories shape crowns." "You want me to support you?" he asked, incredulous. "I want your face," she said, "your legend, the hero who killed the Mad Queen, standing behind her cousin, the true heir. Together we can make them kneel." Arya barked a bitter laugh. "You think people will just forget?" "No," Rhaenys said. "I think they'll believe what they're told." She turned to leave. tossing a small scroll at Jon's feet. "Think on it. You have 3 days. After that, I stop asking." Then she vanished into the woods like smoke. "Okay, what? Did you just see that? A hidden Targaryen just tried to recruit Jon Snow, the man who killed Daenerys, to stand beside her and take back Westeros, not by war, not by dragons, but by legend, by using the myth of the man who saved the realm to build a kingdom of lies. And the craziest part, Jon didn't say no. So what happens next? Does Arya stop him? Does the realm fall for another Targaryen dream? Or does the parchment lay untouched for hours? Jon didn't pick it up, didn't read it, didn't burn it, he just stared at it. Arya paced across the firelit cave, furious and silent. She hadn't spoken since Rhaenys left. Her steps echoed with tension, like each one kept her from doing something she'd regret. Finally she stopped. "You're not actually considering it," she said, voice sharp but low. "Right?" Jon didn't respond. That was answer enough. Arya stepped closer. "Jon, she's no different than Daenerys. Same blood, same dream, same thirst for a crown built on bones." "She's not Daenerys," Jon muttered. Arya's voice cracked. "You don't know that." Jon turned to her, eyes dark. "And you do?" She blinked, taken aback. He'd never spoken to her like that. Not with anger, not even with pain. But now there was weight in his voice. Not fury, not guilt, resolve. "She didn't come to kill me," Jon said. "She came to use me, that's worse, because she thinks I matter, and maybe I still do." Arya folded her arms, shoulders tense. "You're done with all this. Thrones, legacies, lies. You said it yourself." "I did," Jon said. "But maybe walking away was just another kind of lie," she scoffed. "You're not doing this." "I'm not doing anything," he said. "I'm thinking, that's all." Arya stepped forward, dangerously close. "You stand beside her even once, and they'll write songs about it. They'll rewrite history. And every girl who loses her, family to fire, will have your face burned into her nightmares." Jon looked away. Arya didn't stop. "You became a ghost to give the realm peace. Don't come back just to hand them another war." 3 days passed. Jon didn't sleep much. He helped the survivors of Chael's people rebuild their boats, bury their dead, clean the blood from stone and sea. But Rhaenys' scroll stayed sealed until the final night. He sat at the edge of the cove under a bleeding sunset. Arya joined him silently. She handed him a water skin, sat beside him. No words. Not yet. After a moment, he spoke. "Do you think I made the right choice?" Arya didn't answer immediately. Then, softly, "Which one?" "Any of them." Jon stared into the waves. Ygritte, the wall, Daenerys, Bran, leaving, staying, killing, loving. Arya looked at him. "I think you made the only choices you knew how to make." He nodded slowly, then reached into his cloak and pulled out the scroll. He opened it. Inside was a simple message. "Come to Dragonstone, alone, at midnight." Beneath the ink, stamped in wax, was the Targaryen sigil. Black, red, eternal. Jon folded it. Stood. "You're going?" Arya asked, voice barely above a whisper. He turned. "I have to know who she really is." Arya stood too. "I'm coming. With you." "No," Jon said. "She said alone." And I said no. Jon smiled faintly. "You're not the boss of me." Arya smiled back, but there was no humor in it. "I'm your only family left. That makes me whatever I need to be." Jon sighed. "If I don't come back," Arya cut him off, "then I burn that island to ash." They arrived at Dragonstone cloaked in fog, the sea around the island churning with unease. Arya remained behind in a small skiff, hidden just off the southern shore. Jon climbed the cliffs alone. He expected guards. There were none. The great hall was empty. No fires, no banners, just the cold stone and the echo of history. Then she appeared, Rhaenys, dressed in black, no crown, no sword, just a woman with power in her blood and prophecy in her eyes. "You came," she said. "I had to." "You're late." "I wanted to be sure I wasn't walking into a trap." She raised an eyebrow. "You still think I want to kill you?" Jon stepped forward. I think you don't know what you want. Rhaenys didn't flinch. I want the realm Daenerys dreamed of, but not with fire, with memory, with truth. He snorted. Truth? She walked toward him slowly. You are truth, Jon Snow. Your name, your face, your guilt, your honor, that's what people believe in. You are the song of ice and fire. I'm not a song, Jon said coldly. I'm a mistake. She stopped inches from him. Then let me use that mistake to rebuild a better world. Jon looked into her eyes and saw something terrifying. Not madness. Hope. The same hope Daenerys had in her eyes before she burned kings, landing to ash. The same hope that ignores screams. The same hope that kills in the name of good. Jon stepped back. No, he said. Rhaenys's eyes hardened. You'd throw it all away. A chance to bring peace without war? There's no such thing, Jon said. You want peace with a puppet, I'm not yours. He turned, she called after him. If you leave, I'll still do it. I'll still rise. Jon paused, then said over his shoulder, Then you'll rise alone. Okay, deep breath, that was everything. Jon Snow just rejected the chance to be the face of a new Targaryen empire. He looked into the eyes of yet another dragon queen and walked away. But you know what that means, right? She won't stop. And Jon? He's done running, done hiding. He's about to step into the light, not as king, not as hero, but as something far more dangerous, a truth the realm can't ignore. The skiff cut through the black waters like a whisper, silent beneath a sky full of storms. Arya's hands gripped the sides as she watched Jon descend the cliffs of Dragonstone, his cloak flapping behind him like wings made of ash. He didn't speak when he stepped into the boat. Didn't look back at the fortress, didn't need to. Arya could read everything in the tightness of his jaw. She tried. Didn't she? Arya asked. Jon nodded. Arya waited a moment. And? I told her no. That was all he said. That was all he had to say, because the line had been drawn, not with blood, not yet, but with intent. And intent, Arya knew, was just a sword waiting, for a reason to swing. Back in the cove, the survivors were packing up. Kyle's people, what few remained, had decided to scatter, vanish again. Jon didn't try to stop them. He understood now. Ghosts don't stay in one place too long. But Arya, she stayed, and this time so did he, because word was spreading again. Not rumor, not whispers. Proof. A sailor from Braavos swore he'd seen Jon Snow alive at a hidden cove near Bear Island. A red priest in Pentos claimed to dream of a man with fire in his blood and ice in his veins. Even Tyrion, far away in King's Landing, received a raven. The wolf lives, and with every whisper the myth grew. Not Jon Snow the murderer, not Jon Snow the exile, Jon Snow the solution. In the halls of the Red Keep, Tyrion poured wine with shaking hands. He read the raven 3 times. Each word weighed more than the last. He knew what this meant. Not just trouble, chaos. He brought it to Bran personally. The king didn't blink. He's alive, Tyrion said. Bran's voice was quiet. Yes. Tyrion's eyes narrowed. You knew? I saw enough. Tyrion exhaled. The realm will want him back. Maybe not as king, but as something. Bran tilted his head. Do you? Tyrion didn't answer, and that was answer enough. 3 nights later, Arya returned from scouting to find Jon standing on a cliff, a letter in his hands. He didn't hear her approach. You're being followed, she said. Jon didn't look at her. I know, she stepped beside him. Southmen or North? Both, he replied. Some loyal to the crown, others just curious. She looked at the letter. What's that? Jon handed it over. It was from Davos, short, sharp, and full. Of things unspoken. Come to White Harbor. We need to talk. They're starting to chant your name again. Arya stared at the ink, then at him. You can't go. I have to. No, she snapped. You don't. That's the whole point. You already gave your blood to this realm. You've done enough. He turned to her. His eyes weren't tired anymore. They were focused. No, he said. I haven't. Arya stepped back. If you go, they'll see me, I know. And they'll use you. Maybe. She shook her head. Don't be stupid. He didn't speak, so she said the things she hadn't wanted to say. "Do you even want to live, Jon?" He blinked. Arya stepped forward. "Because every time I look at you, I don't see a man who wants peace. I see a man looking for somewhere to die right. And if that's what this is, if going to White Harbor is just your way of bleeding for everyone again, tell me now." Jon looked at her, long and hard, then said softly, "I don't want to die, but I don't want to hide anymore." "Either." Arya clenched her fists. "Then don't walk into their hands. Don't let them twist you into a symbol again." "I won't," Jon said, "because I'm not going as a king or a hero or a Targaryen. I'm going as a man who saw too much and has something to say." Okay, hold on. Let's breathe. For a second, Jon Snow is stepping into the light again. Not to lead, not to rule, but to tell the truth. The real truth. About Daenerys, about the war, about what peace costs when you build it on fire and silence. But do you think the realm will listen? Do you think they'll let him just speak and walk away? Because I don't, and neither does Arya. The harbour at White Harbor was cloaked in mist when Jon arrived. Hood up, face low, Arya at his side in the shadows. No trumpets, no fanfare, no guards lining the docks. Just Davos Seaworth waiting at the edge of the pier, like an old man who'd seen one too many ghosts, and now stared at another. He didn't smile, didn't embrace, just said, "You shouldn't have come." Jon nodded. "I know." Arya kept her distance, eyes on every rooftop, every alley. Davos motioned them into a warehouse by the water, abandoned, empty, cold. Once inside, he barred the doors and turned. "They're already talking," he said. "Small folk, scribes, half the maesters at Old Town. Your name's been written on more parchments in the last 2 weeks than it was during the whole damn war." Jon exhaled slowly. "I didn't come for politics." Davos raised an eyebrow. "Then what did you come for?" Jon pulled something from beneath his cloak. It wasn't a sword. It wasn't a crown. It was a letter. Not from him. From Tyrion. Arya stepped forward. "Where did you get that?" Jon's voice was low. "Tyrion wrote it before the council crowned Bran. He sent it to Sam. Sam never showed it to anyone." Davos unfolded the parchment, scanning its contents quickly. His eyes narrowed. It was a confession. Tyrion's. Of everything. How he enabled Daenerys. How he believed in her, right up until the moment she burned the city. And how Jon Snow had been, right to stop her. But most of all, it was a warning. Power lies in belief, in myth, in what people need you to be. Jon Snow can be king, he can be kinslayer, he can be savior, but the one thing he cannot be is silent. Davos folded the letter carefully. "Why show me this now?" Jon looked at him. "Because I'm done being silent." The next day, Davos gathered the lords of the North and Riverlands under the guise of discussing trade with the crown. Jon stood behind a veil, waiting. Not for applause, but for the moment the lies stopped. Arya stood beside him, arms crossed. "You." "Sure about this?" she whispered. "No," he said, "but I can't stay quiet and watch the same mistakes happen again." Then he stepped forward, out into the hall, out into the world. And the room froze. Gasps, stares. One man stood immediately. "Is this a trick?" Another, Lady Manderley, whispered, "He's supposed to be dead." Jon raised his hand. "I was," he said. "I died in more ways than one." No one spoke. He continued, "I'm not here to take back the throne. I don't want a crown. I don't want war. But I do want the truth to be known. About what happened. About what we let happen." He laid Tyrion's letter on the table, and then he spoke. Not like a king, not like a warrior, but like a man who had nothing left to lose. He spoke of Daenerys, of her dreams, of her fire, of the moment she became the thing she swore to destroy. He told them how he loved her, and how he killed her anyway. He told them how silence, the kind that rots from within, was the reason so many good people died, and how silence now would only let another dragon rise. He ended with 6 words. "I am not your hero, speak anyway." Then he left the room, left the city, left the north, and the world shook. Because for the first time since the war ended, someone told the truth, and no one could ignore it. In King's Landing, Bran read the transcript, said nothing but Tyrion. He smiled. He finally did it, he whispered. He killed the game. Weeks passed. Rhaenys never came for him again. The Red Priests in Volantis went silent. Even the whispers faded. Because Jon Snow didn't die in war. He didn't win. He didn't rule. He spoke. And that was more dangerous than any army. Arya stood beside him on a hill overlooking the sea. Their boat was ready, west of Westeros. No banners. No maps, just the unknown. You sure? She asked. Jon looked out at the endless blue and smiled. For once, I am. Arya stepped aboard first. Jon followed, and as the boat drifted out into the fog, the world left them behind. But their story, it stayed. Not as a prophecy, not as a warning, but as a reminder that peace isn't silence and truth. Truth needs no throne.